We've all decided. You should sell your house and put the money into your sister's baby fund. She needs it more than you." That was my mother, sitting at the head of the table, wine glass lifted high like she was giving a toast, not stabbing me in the back. My cousins applauded. My dad gave me that fatherly nod, the kind that says, "Finally, she'll be good for something." My sister covered her face with her hands and whispered, "This means so much." I blinked, smiled faintly, and reached for my phone. The message I'd been saving for this exact moment was waiting. A bank notification confirming the deed transfer had gone through. Before anyone could interrupt, I read it aloud. Property sale finalized. $894,000 transferred to new trust account under the name Indigo Ray Whitman. Protected, irrevocable, no access without written authorization from the owner. Silence. No clinking forks. No fake crying. No speeches about babies. Just that heavy stillness you get when a thunderstorm rolls up outside your door. My name is Indigo Ray Whitman. I'm 32. And if you think you know how this ends, stay with me. I grew up in a family that taught me how to give, how to serve, how to sacrifice, but never how to expect anything in return. Not love, not loyalty, not even gifts. So I played the obedient daughter until they tried to take my house. And that's when I realized sometimes the only way to prove your value is to let people feel the cost of underestimating you. What happens when the black sheep figures out how to run the farm? That night was only the beginning. By morning, they'd wish they'd kept their mouths shut. My sister was the first to rise, her face blotchy, voice trembling. "Wait, what do you mean you sold the house?" Her hands shook. My mother grabbed her arm, like two actresses caught in the wrong play. I sipped my wine. "The house you all thought you could vote on like it was a pizza order? That was mine. Paid in full." I tilted my head. "Remember when you laughed because I bought a 2-bedroom fixer in a bad neighborhood instead of going in on Ezra's condo?" "Yeah, that one." My father's jaw tightened, his face the picture of a man remembering a debt long overdue. "You're being ridiculous," he muttered. "This was about family." I laughed. "You mean your version of family? The one where I pay, smile, and stay quiet?" My cousin Amelia hissed, "You're making a scene." I set down my glass. "Then let me make it bigger." I reached into my purse, pulled out a folded envelope, and slid it across the table. My mom opened it. Her eyes scanned, stopped, scanned again. Then her face drained of color. Inside, a notarized agreement canceling my $60,000 contribution to the family investment fund. The same fund I was pressured into years ago. The one everyone benefited from. The one I was guilt-tripped into for the family's future. Guess whose future just got cut? "You can't do this," my dad snapped. "I already did," I answered. Then my phone buzzed. One message. 2. 7. Ezra, Amelia, my aunt, my uncle, even grandma, all demanding some version of what happened. Why the panic? Word had spread. But they didn't know the full story. Not yet. They say silence can be louder than shouting. This silence cut straight through. Mom clutched the envelope like it might catch fire. "You're really cutting us off," she whispered, wounded. "Let me rephrase," I said evenly. "For once, I'm choosing myself." My sister, still dabbing at fake tears, slipped right into performance mode. "But the baby fund? We already told everyone you'd contribute. Ezra made a down payment counting on your share." I leaned back in my chair. Maybe Ezra should have used his promotion bonus instead of expecting me to bleed for him again. Her jaw locked tight. Dad slammed his napkin against the table. "This is betrayal." "No," I replied slowly, pushing myself to my feet. "Betrayal is humiliating your own daughter in front of everyone and trying to shame her into giving up the work of her entire life." I let my eyes sweep across every face. Faces that had smiled while silently applauding my financial execution. "You don't get to call me selfish just because I finally stopped bleeding for you." And with that, I walked out of the dining hall, past the valet, into the crisp night air where my real life was waiting. I didn't cry. I didn't falter. I slid into my car, started the engine, and watched my phone light up like fireworks. Missed calls, texts, voicemails. The woman who never belonged at their table had suddenly become the only one who could fix what they had broken. But I stayed silent. Not even when my cousin sent a picture of Dad on the phone with the bank. Not even when Mom rang 3 times in a row. Because there was something they didn't know. Something hidden in the paperwork. Quiet but lethal. And soon it would arrive, sealed in an envelope, first thing Monday morning. By Monday it had landed. I knew because the voicemail stopped. The first message wasn't from Mom. It was from the bank. Hello, Miss Elwood. We're confirming that you're listed as the sole signatory and legal owner of the joint family holdings. As per your request, all secondary access has been revoked. I stared at the screen, calm as still water. That account, the one they built under my name back when I worked 3 jobs just to rebuild their ruined credit while they partied and took out loans in my name. They thought I'd never touch it. They were wrong. A year ago, I'd quietly consolidated the family trust into a single asset account just to simplify the taxes, I said. No one noticed I was the only name left. They never looked. They assumed I was the fool, the workhorse. They forgot I had an MBA. They forgot I'd been watching. I hadn't touched a cent. Until now. With one signature, I froze their cards, pulled $82,000, cleared my own mortgage, and donated the rest to a fund supporting single mothers in business under my daughter's name. Let them sit in silence now. By mid-afternoon, the family group chat came alive like the undead. Mom, we need to talk. This is bigger than dinner. Dad, you're playing with fire. Sister, you've ruined us. I left them on read. That night, while watering my plants, a car slowed in front of my driveway. My sister stepped out, eyes swollen, hair wild, clutching her phone like oxygen. She walked up, hand trembling as she raised it to knock, then froze. Inside, I dimmed the lights and watched through the window. Sometimes silence is a mirror, and what stares back isn't pretty. The next morning, she returned. This time, she knocked. Just let me explain, she whispered, her voice thin and quivering like a violin string about to snap. Mom didn't mean to humiliate you. Dad said you wouldn't care. We thought you were used to it by now. Used to it. Like dismissal was some hand-me-down emotion I was meant to wear until it fit. I stayed quiet. Through the peephole, I watched her shoulders slump. She sat on my front steps. Then came surprise number 2. My mother in her robe, hair unkempt, storming up the walkway with a crumpled paper bag in one hand and her phone gripped like a weapon. You have no idea what you've done, she hissed. Your father's accounts are frozen. The tax office is asking questions. Ezra can't book his honeymoon. And your uncle just called me in tears. She shoved the paper bag at me. Take this. Let's talk like family. I opened it. Inside was a dusty photo album. Edges frayed, pages curled. Childhood snapshots. Me in pigtails. Me at spelling bees. Me holding trophies. Always me alone. Half-lit birthday cakes. Graduation day. My shadow the only one by my side. You were never forgotten, Mom said softly. I shut the album gently, then lifted my eyes to meet hers, steady and sharp. It was almost funny, because no one ever remembered me either. Before she could open her mouth, I simply pointed to the sign on my door. No soliciting. No guilt trips. No manipulation. Her eyes skimmed the words, and she flinched before turning away. I didn't have to shout, didn't have to slam a door. All I needed was for them to feel the weight of my absence. And absence has its own volume. But the silence didn't linger. By nightfall, my phone buzzed with a call from an unfamiliar number. It was Ezra, my golden brother. The same one who once sneered, "You're good at being invisible. Stay that way." Only now his voice shook. "I just need to know why you did it." I stared at the wall. My restaurant blueprint still hung there, the one they mocked, ridiculed, and dismissed. "You mean why I pulled your co-signing rights? Why your luxury condo payment bounced?" I asked. He paused. "Just tell me what you want." I nearly laughed. For years, all I wanted was a seat at their table, a real question, a shred of faith. But now, I didn't crave apologies. I wanted balance. "Here's what I want, Ezra," I said slowly. "I want a world where people earn what they flaunt. Where Mom's toasts aren't just theft wrapped in smiles. Where Dad doesn't trade on my name. And where you, my flawless brother, learn how to build without leaning on me to bankroll it." He went quiet. And then something shattered, not in my house, but in his. Not glass, but the illusion he wore like a golden robe stitched with entitlement. That week, I didn't rage, I acted. I gathered receipts, shifted my shares, closed every joint account, and contacted my lawyer, the one they never knew I had. And then I made one final move. I posted a single line. Silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's a spreadsheet calculating your worth. The next morning, I woke up to see that at Mom of Winners had deactivated, and my restaurant had a 3-month waiting list. 2 weeks later, the doorbell rang. Not a frantic knock, but a soft chime, deliberate. I opened it to see them all standing there. Dad in his pressed polo, eyes uneasy. Mom clutching a Tupperware of lasagna like an offering. Ezra trailing behind, jaw tight, a man used to applause, now greeted with silence. No balloons, no apology banner, just them and the sour smell of desperation. We've been talking, Dad began, voice brittle. We'd like to help with the restaurant now. Maybe marketing, signage. It's doing well, right? Mom jumped in quickly. We thought we'd bring dinner. Your favorite lasagna. The same one you always made for Ezra's birthdays? I asked flat. She blinked. You remember that? I smiled faintly, stepping aside, but not letting them in. Funny. I remember everything. Ezra tried to lighten the air. Come on, Jules. Family fights, money drama, it's messy. Let's just reset. Reset. Like I was some circuit breaker they tripped one too many times. I looked at them, 3 people who once called me a phase, a burden, a directionless career girl. Now standing outside the very dream they dismissed, desperate to plug into its power. I don't hate you, I said quietly, but I don't owe you entry into something you never believed in. Dad's eyes glistened. We're not here for money. I met his gaze. I know. And then I gently shut the door. Behind it, I heard the lasagna hit the porch with a soft thud. A silence too heavy to be hunger. I exhaled, turned back inside, and walked to my dining table, set for one, candle glowing, a note in my handwriting beside the plate. Sometimes family isn't who knocks. It's who never left you waiting at the door. 2 weeks after I closed that door, a letter arrived. Not a text, not a call, a letter. Slanted ink, torn edges. From Ezra. I underestimated you. We all did. That night at your restaurant, it was the first time I really saw you. Not as the little sister. As the storm we pretended wasn't there. I'm sorry. If you ever need anything, I'll show up. I folded it neatly and slipped it into the same drawer that held the napkin from opening night, still stained with marinara and determination. I didn't respond, because this was never about revenge. It was about reclaiming myself. The following week, a journalist featured my restaurant in the hidden gems of the city. Woman-owned, soul-fueled. The piece went viral. Bookings surged. Locals left flowers, handwritten notes. One woman whispered after her meal, "Thank you for making a place that feels like home for people who never had one." I smiled, because that was the point, wasn't it? To take every dinner I was excluded from and build my own table, my own rules, my own love. One night, locking up, I stepped into the quiet street. The wind shifted, carrying a faint trace of lemon zest, like Mom's old kitchen. But this time, it didn't sting. It just passed through me. I walked home alone, and for the first time, alone didn't feel like loss. It felt like peace, earned, not performed. When I reached my door, I tilted my head to the stars, smiled, and whispered, I was always here.